Hi everybody, this is Osprey from mychartcoach.com, and in this video we're going to take a look at some of the stocks that were in play today. Yeah, the cryptocurrency stocks were feeling a little pressure today. The entire sector was under attack, and so there were some stocks that were up, and many of the ones that were up, they tended to have black candles forming today, and so yeah, today the Bitcoin cryptocurrency stocks were taking a breather along with OSTK, and as you can see, we had put out alerts that it had formed bearish Harami cross reversal pattern, and today that pattern was confirmed. As you can see here, it did close down 5% on the day, and yeah, and notice how RSI dropped below 70 and Fasto dropped below 80. Those are sell signals that the chart is cooling down, and so what's going on now is the share price closed right at the key support level, which is EMA4 at 69.93. That's the pink line there. If it breaks below that level, if it closes below, we're looking for a potential drop down to EMA8 at 65. Okay, EMA13 at 61 would be the next support level below EMA5. If you look back here in November, when it closed below the middle Bollinger Band on the 27th of November, that signaled a pullback. It ended up breaking below the middle Bollinger Band and dropping all the way down to the 50-day simple moving average support zone. So a close below EMA4 would be a red flag. If you look back here on the close below EMA4, it did pull back all the way to the middle Bollinger Band. It held EMA8 back here in November. But yeah, the bottom line is if the EMA4 holds, it's signaling that the uptrend is still super strong, still more upside, but the bearish reversal pattern is signaling downside risk now that it has been confirmed. And there is also a breakdown on the 15-minute chart. If you look here at the OSTK 15-minute chart, you'll see here it had attempted to double bottom intraday. It pulled down today. It found support around 72, came back up, failed to get above the middle Bollinger Band and above the 50 simple moving average. That was the green line, and that was the signal that the bears were strong, and that this was a good time to start looking at those puts. And notice it just kept riding EMA4 resistance lower. So yeah, that was a really sweet move lower for those that were taking a short position at this level. We did put out alerts in our chat. If you'd like to learn more about that, I'll post a link at the end of the video, and you can learn how to play both sides of the market. And as you can see here, when it came down to this 100, it was simple moving average. It double bottomed, but it failed to hold, and that close below that signaled more downside risk. So now it's at the double bottom level from the closing price on the 19th. So it needs to hold that level. If that level holds, then it could go higher. You're going to see a break above EMA4 at 70.14. That will be your signal that it's trying to bounce and that it's heating up. If that's still resistance, you could see a drop if this support level breaks down to 68. That was the low on the 19th. And then if 68 breaks, then you're looking at the 200 simple moving average down here around 65. So yeah, so it's going to be really important that OSTK bounces tomorrow, or it could make a drop down to 65. Okay, let's look at NETE here. It closed up, had a huge day, closed up 272%. This stock was just a penny stock not long ago, and they did a reverse split, and then they put out some news that they're a cryptocurrency stock now, and then it had the giant gap up open. It's up 272%. So just keep that in mind, that a lot of these companies are now posting that they're in the crypto game, but many of them were just piece of junk penny stocks, and they're just using the crypto thing to run. I'm not saying that's the case here. I'm just saying that is happening, and just to buyer beware. And notice that back here in July and August, check out the really low volume and how they just drove it lower. It was a lot of pain for people. It had that nice bounce in the run up to the 300 simple moving average. It came back down, and then today the big move was the break back above the 300-day simple moving average at 704. Okay, so 709. That's the big level to turn into support. Okay, if that holds, that could signal more upside potential. Today a spinning top formed. All right, the long upper wick shows profit taking and the pullback from high of day. that there'd be a spike down today on accumulation distribution, even though the share price was up. You know, that they were selling shares into this rally. And so now what's happening is you have this candle floating in space. Okay, is NETE going to push higher up to 2025? Well, we'll see. We'll look at the next chart. If it cools down, it pulls back. The risk is that the candles work back into the bands, and EMA4 is way down here at 1074. And notice how EMA4 is lined up with the closing price from back here on the 27th of September, down here at $10. So that's the downside risk, is that it drops down to 10 if it fails to push higher. If you look here at the NETE weekly chart, so this is a multi-year weekly chart. We posted this today to give people some alerts that it was hitting this key resistance level, the 20 to 25 zone, which was from back here in 2016. And so, yeah, it failed to get above this July and August 2016 level and pulled back. You know, it started hitting this zone from earlier in 2016. You know, it looks like if it could get above this level right here, this 25, 26 level, if it can get above that, then it could push higher and make a run up to this high from 2016, the high close in the weekly chart. You know, if it struggles to get through this 25 zone, you know, and it struggles with the resistance here from, you know, what is that, June, July, August of 2016, then it could consolidate. What bulls want to see is they want to see this 100-week moving average way down here at 1277, that gold line. You want to see that level turn into support. There was a really bullish move this week above the 50 and 100-week moving averages, and also above the middle Bollinger Band. So this is signaling the possible start of a new uptrend. It needs to stay above the 100-week moving average for this chart to remain super strong. If it pulls below that level, that would signal consolidation. Okay, so take a look at NXTD. Okay, this had another big move today. You know, another stock that made a big move, up 75%. Congrats, everyone. Yeah, it was pretty impressive because it had been on this multi-day run, and it closed right at the 300-week moving, or 300-day simple moving average yesterday. Notice how that was support in September, or resistance in September, I'm sorry, and it failed to break above that level, and it pulled back, you know, it back here in September, and then it failed to turn it into support in September and pulled back, and then yesterday it hit that level, failed to close above and pulled back below and formed the black candle. And so that was signaling downside risk. There was no unfilled gaps below, so the gaps have all been filled by the wicks on these candles, and it did bounce yesterday off the 200 and 100-day simple moving averages. That's the red and the gold line. So that was bullish that it was able to hold those levels. But today, I just, you know, who would have guessed it would have had such a big gap up open? That was a huge gap up, and now a spinning top formed. And so you're looking at, you know, interesting setup here. You have multiple, you know, you have 6 green volume bars in a row. You have this big push up here. You know, it's up hundreds of percent in the last 6 days, and now this candle's floating above the upper Bollinger Band. You know, the risk is the candles work back into the bands, and the two big support levels are first the high closes. So the high close in September, but then before that you have the high close from June. So if it can hold this 290 level, it could launch off that and push higher. You know, 380 is the big level to break. If it drops below this 275, you know, this 275, 280 to 290 support zone, then that would be the signal the candles are working back into the bands. And then the 300-day simple moving average at 211 and EMA4 are the targets. If you look here at the NXTD 15-minute chart, so yeah, this is just like what is this, a 4-day chart, and this is showing you know, the setup currently. You know, it came up, it hit the high, and then it pulled back, and so now it's right at that middle Bollinger Band level, the 50-yard line, currently at 316. It needs to stay above that level. If it drops below, then you're looking at 290 and 280. A drop below 280 would be a big red flag. That was the low support today, and if it did drop below 280, it could pull back and fill the gap. There's a gap between high of day on the 19th and low of day on the 20th, and so the space here represents the gap, and a drop down here to about 221, 222 or so, that would fill the gap, and so that is the downside risk. To the upside, if it can get a close above, what is that, 360, that is going to signal that it wants to head higher. So bulls, you're looking for a close above 360. If it drops below 280, you could see a drop down to 220. Okay, let's take a look at GENE. So yeah, huge move today, closed up 80%. lots of stocks moving, man. It's just they're going off everywhere. Lots of these plays that these are popular names that have been around a while that people trade frequently. NETE, NXTD, and GE, they've been traders for a long time for people. And yeah, once again, notice how this is a very similar setup. They like to run similar type of charts and stocks at the same time. And so this is another break above the 300-day simple moving average. Notice how it hit that level, failed to break, hit that level, failed to break in November, and then here in December it failed to break, and then finally today, bam, that just busted through in a very powerful way with a huge volume spike, closing near high of day. Notice there's the PSAR bull flip. Okay, so the once again, when you get a push well above the upper Bollinger Band, the red flag is that the potential risk is that the candles work back into the bands, because the upper Bollinger Band's way down here at 134 and first support's down here at 126. So that would be quite the haircut. If you look back here in the past, it closed above the upper Bollinger Band, and then a red candle formed, it worked back in. Same thing here. Same thing here. These candles, it did push higher. The thing is, it did give people a chance to get out on these other days with the gap up open. So that's what people would like. Just the risk here for people that held overnight tonight is the gap down open. They could gap it down at the open, and then that really stinks for everybody that chased. And so yeah, keep that in mind. And so on a pullback, what you want to see, if it does pull back, is you want to see the EMA4 hold at 126. That would be your first support level, and then you come down to the high close, which is all the way down here at 110. So yeah, and then the 300-day simple moving average is way down here at 105. That is the key level to turn into support. So this was a sweet move for Gene and GENE. And when stocks are breaking out like that on the daily chart, the key is to look at the weekly chart. And so this is a couple year weekly chart here, and this is showing the big breakout above the 50 and 100-week moving averages, the green and gold lines. And so the big level to hold now is going to be this 100-week moving average at 146. Bulls want to see a close above that level for the week. They don't want to see this kind of action, a pullback and a close below. If it can close above 146, hold that level, then the 200-week moving average at 261 will be the eventual next target. Notice back here in November when it closed above the 50-week moving average, it did pull back for 3 weeks in a row and test that middle Bollinger Band before it headed higher. So keep that in mind. The candles could work back into the bands. Notice the candles did close above the upper Bollinger Band. If they do, the EMA4 is way down here at 124. So for this to be a really good setup, like with the current setup on the weekly chart, it's got to stay above that 100-week moving average. That would make it a nice, juicy setup for for a potential move higher. Just keep in mind the stock is it pushes up, pulls back, pushes up, pulls back. It pushed up. It could get another green candle going, but yeah, just keep in mind nothing goes straight up. And so yeah, and candles that close well above the upper Bollinger Band many times work back into the bands. Okay, so look at AEZS here. They had the after hours news. Notice it closed down on the day. It was at oversold levels on Fasto. The chart has just been wound tight for months. Okay, we've been looking at this thing for so long that it's one of those plays where you just freaking stop looking at it because it's just what's there to see, right? It's just been going sideways forever. And so with this kind of play, what you look for is for that eventual break above the top of the channel. And these are good traders for people that like to work it in between. You can buy the bottom of the channel and then sell the top of the channel, and then you keep working it. This one didn't dip as far on this dip, but you get the idea. You load off the bottom. You sell till it hits resistance, and you can keep working it as it's trading sideways. Trying to, if you're long, load at the bottom, sell at the top. But really, what we do is we just sit there and watch, and we're waiting for a break above the top of the channel. That's really the a good way to play it, so you don't get caught up sitting there holding, waiting for the play to develop. And so this high close here in October was the key level to break. And so it happened after hours. There's a huge gap up open, because tomorrow most likely, because it was running in after hours on news. And so it's up here in this 325 zone right now, where it's at right now. It's at the top of this July level. Okay, so it's hitting the high from July right here at 325. And at 325, 330, right here in this zone. And so it's going to need to push above that level to head higher. You can see here where it had a gap up, it formed a black candle. If you see a black candle forming tomorrow, after the close was down here at $2. And so you know, you're looking at an open up 50-60% higher. You could see a pullback, you know, with the black candle forming, and many times that's your signal. You just want to go to the sidelines. You know, most of the money, the easy money, was made by the people that were in, you know, before the news came out after hours. You notice that it was down 5 days in a row, and it did form a doji, which is a bullish doji star reversal pattern. You know, so it was really set up for the bounce. It was right off support. Yeah, so congrats to everybody that's in this. And so going forward, it needs to stay above this 320 level. Above 320 is going to signal more upside potential. And once again, when a stock's breaking out, what you got to do is look at the weekly chart, and you could see here that the 100-week moving average is at 382 there. That's going to be the big level to hold. You want to see that level turn into support, and then you want to see a break above. You know, right now it's at 350. That's kind of at the top of this candle right here in from April, and so you want to see it bust above that level, and then you've got this just above $4, and then up here at $5 are some big resistance levels above to break. So yeah, this is going to be a big move on the gap up open. Just keep in mind that it needs to stay above that 100-week moving average. Once it's above that level, if it pulls back below that signals that it would likely consolidate. Okay, let's look at XXII. This is a marijuana sector play. Closed up 5% today. Wasn't a super sexy move, but it was a nice bounce. It's in the bull zone on RSI at 53. Fasto, you want to see that get back above 50. So yeah, it got above the upper Bollinger Band. Candles worked back into the bands. It worked its way all the way back to the middle Bollinger Band and the 50-day simple moving average down here at 242. You know, it bounced off of that level. It closed back above EMAs 4 and 8. It looks like the uptrend's still intact. You know, it started an uptrend back here on the 20th of November. The middle Bollinger Band's been holding. You know, the share price has been rising, making higher highs, higher lows. It's just, you know, stocks, like I just said a minute ago, you know, they don't go straight up. And I know everybody would love everything just to fly to the moon, but you know, some stocks just cruise, and this one's in, you know, has this nice uptrend going. It's at the bottom of the current channel, and so the next likely level is to you know, to push up off of you know, it could retrace up to the top of this channel. And so what you're looking for now is it has to stay above that 250 support level. You know, the 247, the middle Bollinger Band. You know, this 50-day simple moving average at 242. It's got to hold that level, and then it needs to get up here above that upper Bollinger Band and the high close, which is about 282 or so. And then if it can get above that, then that's going to signal it wants to head higher. The top of the channel is currently up here around $3, $3.10. So yeah, this is, you know, you load off the support, and then you look for it to, once it busts up and it hits resistance, you know, that's where you lock in gains. We'll see if it can keep the uptrend going. Okay, let's look at RMHB, Rocky Mountain High Brands. Congrats, everybody. This was a huge winner today. It did close up 40%. It was up at much higher levels earlier in the day. We did put out alerts on this yesterday. It was alerted by another chat member of ours earlier in the day yesterday. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, good teamwork. I highly recommend checking out the premium chat. That's where all the best alerts and information is at. It's really worth it. We've got a spinning top that formed here during a gap up open, and so what that signals is indecision. It has to hold the 50-day simple moving average here at 0.0114. If it can hold this green line, that's going to signal upside potential, and then we're looking for the 100-day simple moving average at 0.0258 to be tested. That's the next target if it can stay above the green line. If it drops below the green line, then we're looking at 0.012 as the first level to hold. You know, it just broke above the middle Bollinger Band down here at 0.008. That level has not been tested. You know, you want to see it stay above now. There's no unfilled gaps, which is good. You know, might be a micro gap down there, but it looks like there's no big gaps on the chart, and it could keep pushing higher. It's forming indecision candles. Today's candle did form above the upper Bollinger Band. The candles could work into the bands. If they do, you really want to see that 50-day simple moving average turn into support. Okay, take a look at NXTTF. You know, this has been an incredible run. You know, we had put out alerts way down here when it was in this 10 to 20 cent range, and you know, now it's at $1.50. I mean, it's pretty amazing in a short period of time. And what really catapulted this to the next level was the deal that they signed with Canopy Growth to sell their hydro equipment. And so that's really taken this stock just parabolic. It keeps pushing higher. It's riding EMA's 4 and 8 support. So I do have that on this chart now. So the pink line is EMA 4, the lime line is EMA 8, and so yeah, as long as it's riding EMA 4, it's pushing super strong. Now a close below that level will signal that it's starting to cool down, but as long as EMA 8's holding, you know, the uptrend is still fully intact. It just could be a little bit of a drop between EMA 4 and EMA 8. It is busting through the upper Bollinger Band right now. Yeah, this is just a very strong chart. It's at all-time highs. This is what we call a well, no, let's see where it's at. It's not at all-time highs. So it's hitting this 2000. Let's look at the 2014 here. So I was thinking about another stock. If we look at the weekly chart, we can clean it up a little bit. And so it's not at the all-time high levels. It's this was at 2014. Let's look here at the key level, which is going to be right up here. So it's getting really close right now. Okay, so it's hitting up here at the this is the 2014 February 17th closing price at 153. Okay, that's the huge level. Okay, it needs to close above that level to head higher. This could signal the a temporary top. So if you see this struggle with that 150 to 155 zone and fail to get above that level, then that could be a signal that it's cooling down. You saw that it was hitting resistance at that level on the daily chart. If it can get up past that, you can see that what does it look like up here around 203 is the all-time high. So if it can bust above this 153 resistance zone, then it could head to 203. That would be the next big level. Okay, let's look here at IMLFF. Okay, so they've got a really nice chart going as well. It has the nice uptrend. This is another Canadian marijuana sector chart. It got above the middle Bollinger Band, has the nice uptrend going, bounced off the middle Bollinger Band, you know, it came back down. Now it's bouncing off the middle Bollinger Band again. We did put out alerts, you know, keep an eye on it for a bounce off that middle Bollinger Band. That did happen today, so congrats everybody that was, you know, that caught that. This is just a good setup. You know, it's always nice to be able to load back off the middle Bollinger Band when a stock's in an uptrend. That's the low reload level if support holds. So as long as you've got, you know, 65 holding, it signals more upside potential. And so what we're looking for this play is we want to see it stay above EMA's 4 and 8. It's got to stay above 70. And then we want to see it break above 80, this high close from December 11th, above 80, and it should run to dollar land. Okay, let's look at GRWC, another marijuana sector play. This is a United States play. This is actually an Oregon company that sells marijuana grow rooms, basically. And yeah, I did posted a bunch of research on this when it was pulling back, and yeah, it was at lower levels. We kind of like lost interest in it, and then yeah, we did put out alerts that it had all this volume at the bottom. But it's one of those plays that look how it just took weeks for it to set up. You know, we knew that this was the bottom down here and that everybody loaded. You know, it had the big volume. They dropped it all the way down. This was your similar load, but you know, who wants to sit there and hold for you know, for a couple months while the chart's setting up? Most people do not. You know, but you know, that is a strategy for some. But yeah, finally it got going in November, and you can see once it broke above resistance, high close resistance here, the high close from October. When that happened on November 21st, it really got moving, and so it got above the 100, this 100-day simple moving average, and then the big break was today. So see, it got above the 100-day simple moving average, and it you know, was struggling to get back above that high close from the first week of December, and then today it busted above that level, and so now it's hitting this August resistance zone. And so you notice how this was support in August. If it can stay above this August level, if it can stay above 13, then it could keep pushing higher, and eventually, you know, you're looking at 40 cents or so as the big target. This is one of the huge winners. You know, if you loaded down here below a penny, when no one was at a penny or below, you know, it was way down, very, very low, you're looking pretty good, especially if it heads back up to dollar land, which, you know, it very well could. eventually. Let's look at NU, and that's the big thing with these plays, is these marijuana sector plays. They've done that in the past, and that's the kind of pattern that they're on right now. So people that have patience and you can like write it out, you know, you're gonna do well on a lot of these if you can get some good entry points. Okay, let's look at NUGS, another cannabis play, NUGS. Okay, you gotta love that ticker symbol name there. And yeah, this is little nuggets breaking out here. So yeah, this is a, you know, the red flag is the low volume. Notice how it had no volume, and then it got some volume heated up here at the beginning of December, and then yeah, it's actually above all the moving averages on the chart. They're all down here at 6 cents, and then you have the middle Bollinger Band, which is the 20-day simple moving average at 8, and they're riding EMAs 4, 8, and 13 support higher. As long as they're pushing like this and holding EMA 4 at 21, the signal is to keep riding. This is you know, it's got volume, it's breaking out. Just be aware that this kind of stock can be difficult to sell if you know, the volume dries up. But yeah, I wanted to show you this monthly chart to show you how this thing is really breaking out. And yeah, it's pretty wild. It's hitting some you know, some very high levels right now. It's breaking out above the 2014 high close, which is down here around 19 cents or so. So if it can close above that, notice how that was the recent high close all the way until back in 2007. And so it's busting above these 2007 levels as well. This is January 2007, and that's the resistance that it's currently hitting. And so, you know, it hit that level and it pulled back. And so if it can get above this little cluster right here, you're talking about a run up to Dollarland. You know, you've got this, you know, dollar zone up here. So I think if it can get above, what was the high here? It was like 56. You know, if it can get above this 50 resistance zone, it could head back up to $1. I mean, you know, this is a very low float, thinly traded stock that moves on air. Okay, let's look at, and it can move downward on air too. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, thanks for viewing this video. If you'd like to learn more about charts and technical analysis, come check out our stock chat app, and yeah, I'll post the link at the end of the video. Thank you.